It's time for Recipe of the Day. I have been going back and forth about the title of this recipe for weeks at this point, but it is finally live on the site, so I can't change my mind anymore. So the thing is the original concept of this recipe was a one-pan cheesy chicken and rice. That is what I was going for. And as I was making it, I started taking it in these like chicken cordon bleu kind of directions, so it became like ham and Swiss, there's some mushrooms in there. And in the end, it actually ended up quite refined and like elegant in its flavor profile, which I don't know goes with that title, One Pan Cheesy Chicken and Rice, where you might just be expecting something more everyday, you know? Anyhow, that was the title that I originally had, and that is what I'm going with. But I want you to know that it's kind of a little fancy in flavor and in like the best possible way. So I can't wait for you to try this. Now, before I get into making it, I just want to say that the basic ingredient amounts for this recipe are based on that very popular ground beef and rice skillet that I have on Cook the Story. This one gets like, I don't even know now, like tens of thousands of people visiting in a month. It's very, very popular and people love it. They say it tastes kind of like old school stuffed peppers, the rice, ground beef, cheese, the bell peppers, but like in this very easy skillet dinner form. So it's basically like the same recipe as that in terms of like the amount of meat, the amount of rice, the amount of liquid, but then the flavor profile has completely changed. And that means that you can take either of these recipes, this cheesy chicken rice or the ground beef and rice, and play with them however you want to. You know, different seasonings. You could go Tex-Mex. You could go Greek. Like this would be amazing with like lemon and thyme and feta cheese on top instead of that like cordon bleu flavor profile that I'm telling you about, you know? So it's one of those things that like once you know how much meat, how much rice, how much liquid, how long to cook it, like it's perfect and you can do whatever you want with whatever you have. So I am going to urge you to make this or the ground beef and rice skillet and then get ready to play around. I can't wait to hear what you create from this basic recipe. Okay, let's dig into actually making it. So you're going to start with a large skillet, ideally one that has a lid already. If it doesn't have a lid, you can use like foil or a pan over top. It's just not going to be sealed as well for cooking the rice. And so it's fine. Just be aware that without like the seal of a lid, you're going to have more of the liquid evaporating. So what you might want to do is have a kettle of water boiling off to the side, like put it on to boil so you have some hot water there ready to go or some hot stock, and just check on the dish sort of partway through its cooking. And if it's looking dry, if there's no more liquid left for the rice to absorb because it's all steaming away, you just want to drizzle in a little bit more liquid. So just know that if you don't have a lid, you're going to want to be aware of that from the beginning. Okay, so you have your large skillet. You're going to heat a tablespoon of olive oil over medium heat, and then you're adding a pound of boneless, skinless chicken thighs that you've cut into 1-inch pieces. Now you can use breast here if you want to. I just find it gets a little bit drier, and so I would actually cut it into slightly bigger pieces, like 1.5 to 2-inch pieces, but still a pound. And that's about 4 chicken thighs or 2 to 3 chicken breasts, depending how big they are. They are getting so big these days, so you want about a pound. Oh, and I will also say that if you're making this to serve more people, you can increase the amount of chicken without increasing anything else, and that's going to be fine. So you do 1.5 pounds. That's going to work as long as it fits in your skillet, and that's actually convenient. Like when I do this, sometimes I do it with the 4 chicken thighs, but sometimes I have that package that had 6 of them in there, and I don't want to have like 2 random chicken thighs floating around my fridge or freezer. Then I just do them all. As long as it fits in your skillet, you are fine. It's not going to change much. Maybe a little bit extra salt and pepper in this next step. So you're adding that cut up chicken into the oil in the pan over medium heat, and then you're sprinkling it with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And then you're just going to let it cook there until it's a little bit brown underneath, 3 to 4 minutes, and then flip it all over and cook it for another 2-ish minutes. Then you're adding a medium onion that you've chopped up and a pint of mushrooms that you've sliced and 1/2 cup of finely chopped ham. That's optional. You can leave it out if you want to. It just adds like a nice salty flavor. Oh, but like when I was talking about how you can like change this up in different ways, think about what you could change here even, right? Like that could be bacon, of course, probably cooked because you want it to be a little bit crispy, but that could be like chorizo sausage or like some salami if you're going in like a Italian direction, right? So there's all kinds of things that you could add in that little step just to change that flavor profile a little bit. Okay, so we added onion, mushrooms, half a cup of finely chopped ham, and 2 cloves of minced garlic, but I probably add 3 or 4. I just put 2 in the recipe so that people aren't overwhelmed by my extreme garlic love, right? So do 2 if you just like garlic a little bit, do 4 if you love it like I do. Okay, so you're gonna cook that, stirring occasionally just until the veggies are softened. So the chicken's in there, all those vegetables are in there, and you're just letting it soften 4 to 5 minutes, still over medium heat. Then you are stirring in 2 cups of chicken stock, 1 cup of uncooked long grain white rice, and I just buy the like plain white rice. If you've got basmati or jasmine, those are both fine. They are long grain white rices. They just tend to cook a little bit quicker. And so later on when you're waiting for it to cook, you just might need, I think I'm going to say 20 to 25 minutes. It's going to be more like 17, 18 minutes. So just be aware of that. But I just use the 1 cup of, it's parboiled long grain white rice. That's what I tend to have. Okay. Along with the stock and the rice, you're also adding a half cup of shredded mozzarella cheese here. And that just is going to add that little bit of creaminess, kind of melt in. It's going to disappear as the rice cooks, but it's just kind of be there as like a base note of cheesy goodness in the whole dish, right? Also a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce and a teaspoon of dried thyme leaves. If you have fresh thyme, no need to pick the leaves off of the branches, off those little twigs. Just put the sprigs of thyme right in there, 2 or 3 of them, just right on top of that mixture. That's going to be great. Okay, so now you're also adding a half teaspoon of salt and you're giving that a stir, and you're going to bring it to a boil over high heat. Stir it again once it comes up to a boil, then reduce it down to a nice gentle simmer. 1 more stir. Put the lid on, and then you're cooking it covered over that nice low heat until all the liquid is absorbed and the rice is tender. It's going to be 20 to 25 minutes. So I just sort of at an 18-ish minute mark, I will give it a little stir somewhere in a corner and taste some rice. It's probably not done at the 18-minute mark, but it might be if you had the jasmine or the basmati. And then 2-3 more minutes, give it another little test. You just want it to taste nice and tender when you taste that rice. The chicken is going to be cooked through in that time because we fried it for a while at the beginning, and then it's in that liquid simmering for another 20 to 25 minutes. You have small pieces. We don't have to worry about whether that's done. It is done. Okay, at that point, you're going to take your skillet off of the heat, stir it all through to just gently fluff the rice, and then you're sprinkling a cup of shredded Swiss cheese over top. Put the lid back on, keeping it off the heat just for 2 minutes to melt the cheese, and then if you'd like, you can sprinkle some fresh chopped chives over top, just a couple of tablespoons, or green onion is going to work too, and you dig in. So easy. 1 pan is all that you've dirtied and like your cutting board and knife, and it's just delicious. And like I said, just kind of elegant a little bit. I'm not sure. It's the Swiss and the thyme and garlic and a little bit of ham. It seems like chicken cordon bleu, which I don't know, is like retro fancy to me for sure. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there, or find it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. And hey, just a quick note. I'm on a recording hiatus right now, so for the next little while, I'm replaying episodes from the archives, including this one. If you heard me mention a holiday, a season, or something going on in my life that seemed a bit off, that's why. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're enjoying these older episodes. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.